Okay, the recording has started. So welcome again to this webinar offered by the European School Education Platform and eTwinning. Today's session is entitled the menABLE Toolbox, approaching the topic of gender-based violence online with your students. It's a very important topic, and to talk about it with you, we have today two guest speakers, Gareth Court and Chiara Antonelli. Gareth Court is an independent online safety expert. He has been part of the digital citizenship team at European SchoolNet since January 2021. And we have also Chiara Antonelli, who is project officer in the same team at European SchoolNet, and she joined in 2023. This webinar is organized also in collaboration with the eTwinning feature group, bringing eSafety into a twinning project. And for that, we have with us another guest speaker, Aneta Wilk, who is moderator of the group and expert of online safety. I will not steal too much time, and I will leave to our speaker to address the very important topic of today. Before starting, though, I would like to remind you a couple of technicalities. The first one is that, as I anticipated to you before, the session is recorded, and the recording will be published on the official YouTube channel of the European School Education Platform as of tomorrow, and probably also on the group Bringing Safety into eTwinning Projects. And the second reminder is to don't be shy during the session and use the chat if you have any questions, doubt, curiosity for our speakers. For any question that is relevant to the topic, we will try to address it if there is time, of course, by the end of the webinar. And also for any technical questions, I will be always there to have an eye on the chat and answer in case of any support needed. Okay. I think that's all for the technical part. So I will now leave the floor to our speakers, Gareth and Chiara, and Aneta instead will conclude the webinar with some information about our group more towards the end of the session. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alessia. Thank you all for being here. So today we are here to talk about the menABLE project and especially the menABLE Toolbox and how to approach the topic of gender-based violence online with your students. So as Alessia mentioned before, I'm Chiara and I'm a project officer for UN, and Gareth too. We are together working on the menABLE project. So we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what is the menABLE project. So menABLE stands for Empowerment Power Against Gender-Based Violence Online, and it's a 24-month project co-funded by the European Union. It started back in February 2023, and it will be ending January 2025. So we are at the second part of the project. For the menABLE project, we have there is European SchoolNet as a project coordinator, but the consortium is composed by Child Focus from Belgium, CDYC from Denmark, and Forth from Greece. The main goal of the project is to combat gender-based violence online by fostering mutual awareness, tolerance, and respect. And it targets mainly early and late teens through formal and non-formal education settings, and also formal and non-formal educators. So this is the technical part of the project, but for the overall objectives of our menABLE project, there are some few. So, for example, one of the primary objective is to investigate the role of boys and young men in the fight against gender-based violence online. Starting from that point, we decided to focus on four main overall objectives, which are raising awareness on more balanced and non-stereotypical portrayal of people of all identities, and also raising awareness of the online risks and gender-based violence online. But we do not only focus on raising awareness. We want also to train stakeholders to prevent, identify, and respond to online risks and online gender-based violence. And through the training, we also wanted to pose a focus on developing educational materials and activities for different stakeholders. And this is one of the objectives that will be mostly tackled today while showing you the menABLE Toolbox. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, in a nutshell, that's the roadmap of the menABLE project. So basically, in the first year, we started with the research report. So from February 2023 until February 2024, we were in the process of writing the research report, which I will talk a little bit about later, so I will not spoil you anything for now. So this first part of the project focused on this research report, which is giving the base for more activities. So, for example, one of the second activity is the menABLE Toolbox, which I'm not spoiling again because Gareth will plenty talk about the menABLE Toolbox later. And our final step, what we are carrying out actually in this moment, is training, outreach, and dissemination activities. So our objective here is to train and reach out to all stakeholders to tackle and train on gender-based violence online. Next slide. Thank you. So as I was mentioning before, the research report. Here you find a QR code for our research report, which is a very interesting reading. So please download it if you want to know more about how to tackle gender-based violence online. This research report is mainly composed of two parts. So the first part is the desktop research, which is the analysis of existing literature and desktop research of the phenomenology and terminology of gender-based violence online. And with this part, we try to also understand what is the key understanding of the topic on international and European level, by also understanding its key features, causes, and consequences. Also, this part is completed with 3 national focuses carried out in Belgium, Denmark, and Greece, which are the menABLE partner countries. The second part is the most interactive one. So basically, we wanted to understand at the core what is gender-based violence online for young people and educators. So what we did, what our partners did, they carried out, Belgium, Denmark, and Greece carried out 18 rounds of focus groups consulting with young people, formal and non-formal educators. Then this part is also complemented with 21 experts interviewed, which range from policymakers, NGOs, academia, and also young people again. Next slide, please. Perfect. So basically here we wanted to also give you a little bit of an understanding of what is the outcome of the focus group involving formal and non-formal educators across the menABLE partner countries. So we understood that through the focus group, there were challenges and solutions. So among the challenges, the most identifying forms from educators were cyber-sexual harassment, non-consensual intimate image sharing, and grooming and unwanted sexual content. Also, another challenge that educators found is that victims, especially young people among their students, often hesitate to report to the teacher, also because sometimes there is not so much bond, and there is not a lot of trust and confidence to talk to the teacher or the non-formal educator about this problem. And on a more psychological level, adults tend to exhibit judgmental attitudes towards inclusion and gender topics. And these results actually came out not only from educators, but also from young people, which on the opposite stated that they are more ready and open-minded to discuss this topic, and they want to discuss this topic with educators. But it is not only the exhibition of judgmental attitudes, but it's sometimes it's also this kind of judgmental attitude is also caused by the lack of capacity and informative resources in education settings. So, for example, of course, a teacher and an educator which does not have the tool to talk to the young people about gender-based violence online, it is important to have the tools, because then it is a very sensitive topic, and mistakes can be very easily to commit. One other point which is very important in this part is the intersectionality. Intersectionality is it's been one of the key topics throughout the focus groups, and the intersectionality influences experiences of gender-based violence online. But it's not only challenges that educators came up with, but they also came up with possible solutions to tackle gender-based violence online. And the main solution was education. So the teachers and non-formal educators thought about tailored educational programs based on intersectional factors. So we do not only tackle gender-based violence online by tackling gender, but also age, by considering also age, social economic background, nationality, and more other things that intersect with gender-based violence online. And this educational program must have a non-judgmental and sensitive approach, mostly when discussing with children and young people. And moreover, a bottom-up and peer-to-peer and youth-centered approach should be more indicated to also have young people discuss the topic and open more about the topic. But education for young people is not the only solution. There must be also education and training of all stakeholders transversally. So it is important to educate adults, such as teachers, non-formal educators, policymakers, and everyone is involved with young people and tackling gender-based violence online. Next slide, please. So after all this research, we came up with, the menABLE consortium came up with a definition of gender-based violence online. You can read it here. So basically the definition, I will just give you some key parts of the definition. So for gender-based violence online, it is important to consider the use of digital communication when perpetrating gender-based violence. And also one more important thing is, again, the intersectionality factor. So it is important when discussing gender-based violence online, it is important to consider also other factors of the individual. So for example, sexual orientation, appearance, age, and many other things. Also, gender-based violence online, mostly also offline, mostly affects female, transgender, and gender non-conforming people, and to some extent, men and young boys. And also, gender-based violence online can take many different forms, it's also based on intersectionality, and also can affect many parts of the life of young people, of those affected. Now I give the floor to Gareth, because my overview of the project is over, but we will see each other later. But I will give you now the floor to Gareth for the more interactive part of the training.
Thanks, Chiara. Lovely to see so many people on the meeting this afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Please do feel free to ask any questions in the chat throughout. We're very happy to answer those as we go through the session. As you heard at the start, I'm part of the digital citizenship team, along with Chiara, working on the menABLE project on behalf of European SchoolNet. You will also be pleased to know that Chiara provided you with the shorter definition here on the screen. Our original definition of gender-based violence online, I think, ran to about 3 paragraphs, didn't it? So you've got the slightly shorter version, which is a little bit more manageable. We've obviously bombarded you with a huge amount of information already about the project, about the research report, about the nature of GBV, but we want to get to know you a little bit through some interactive activities as well. So the first thing that I'd like you to do, either on the device that you're accessing this meeting on, or on a smartphone or another device if you have it handy, is to head over to www.menti.com and input the code that you can see on the screen there, 31040354. I will pop that in the chat for you, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen and switch over to Menti. But don't worry if you don't capture the details either in the chat or on the screen, because they will reappear on the screen in the Menti as well. So I'm just going to swap sharing screen, and we will head over to the Menti. And we've got a couple of warm-up questions that we'd just like to use to get to know you a little bit. So hopefully you can now see the Menti as well. And the first question that will appear up on the device that you're accessing the Menti is, what is your gender and country of origin? And the easiest way to put that in, because it's a word cloud, is to type in your gender, and you can shorten that just to an initial letter. So it could be F or M or N, and then a dash, and then the country. So if you are female and from Germany, you would put F-Germany. So I'll just give you a moment to input your answers, and we will see them appear live. Here's the first one, appear live in the word cloud as they are input. I should pick some kind of holding music that we could play over this. We got 2 from Italy, but I think I might have known who those are. Oh, yeah, and someone from Lebanon. Fantastic. In fact, to be fair, I should probably put this in as well, shouldn't I? So I would do mine too. I'll just give people a few moments And as we said, all the details for joining the Menti are in the chat and also displayed on the screen. So there's the details of the code up the top and the QR code on screen if you need it as well. Okay, I'll give you just a moment longer as we've had 8 responses from 44 attendees. So it'd be lovely to have a few more people just to get a sense of where you're from. You don't have to reveal anything else about yourself, don't worry. Fantastic. Okay, I think what we'll do is we will move on. That was the easy question. Let's get on to something a little bit more related to gender-based violence. So next question, and if you haven't joined yet, feel free to join in on this question as well. The details will remain on the screen, is to have a little think about how familiar you are with teaching issues around gender-based violence. And you can see that you should be able to fill in your choice for 2 sliders. Both in terms of teaching about gender-based violence in general, including offline issues, but also any experience about teaching about gender-based violence online. So we'll just give you a moment to input your answers for that one. And I think, Chiara, I'm not going to put my answer in for that one because I feel like that will skew it a little bit, given the nature of the projects and the work that we do. I'll just give you a moment longer. I can see 7 people have responded, and I think we had 11 on the previous slide. So we'll just give people a moment longer. And it's interesting, if you've been watching those scales in real time, they were moving up and down. And at one point, gender-based violence online was showing greater experience than gender-based violence in general, but they seem to be neck and neck now. They seem to be moving in unison. Okay, fantastic. In the interest of time, I'm going to leave it on that question. I'm going to stop sharing that and come back to our slides. But please don't close the browser window that you already have open for this Menti, because we have got a quiz coming up shortly. And if you keep the browser window open with that, then you'll be straight into the quiz when we get to that point. But if you're still deliberating this question, I'll leave that for you. That question will still be live for you while we just go back to the slide deck instead. So bear with me a moment. There we go. So the main thing that we wanted to talk about in this presentation, apart from the project, of course, is one of the main outputs, as Chiara mentioned, which is the menABLE Toolbox, a really, really important set of resources that we have developed and our project partners have developed in order to equip all types of educators, be you formal, non-formal, or working in another capacity with young people, to explore these issues about gender-based violence, both online and offline. And one of the things that we found, as Chiara showed you from the slide of the findings from interviews and focus groups with both educators and young people, is that opening up the discussion to talk about these issues is a tricky thing in schools. It might be due to a lack of resources or time, or a lack of confidence on the part of an educator, or being unsure of how to explain these issues in the right kind of way or show the right sensitivity. And we're hoping that the Toolbox meets all those needs, that empowers both educators and young people themselves to be able to talk about these issues more openly and explore some of the concepts. And I'll talk about the parts of the toolbox. You'll notice that a part of the toolbox is called challenges, but I think it's important to stress that there are parts of the materials that are challenging. They are difficult conversations to have. If they were easy, I think we'd all be doing them all day, every day, and they've become a little bit a little bit boring, if you like. But there are challenging things in here, and that's an important thing to keep in mind and have a mindset of when going into this toolbox, is that yes, it can be very empowering and it can help everyone, but it's not to say that it's easy. These are difficult conversations, and conversations about problems and issues in society that have in many ways extended long before the internet was even a thing. So some of these are not new issues, but there are ongoing issues that change in response to changes in society and indeed changes in technology as well. So important to keep that in mind. Now, the toolbox as it stands and everything that's been uploaded so far is available on the menABLE website, and I'll give you a little live demo of that in a moment. But just to break down what is in the actual toolbox. So it's made up of 3 component parts. One part is a set of quizzes that young people can actually work through as a small group or individually to answer, to help them think about some of the aspects of gender and gender identity and GBV online. Or it can be used as part of a teaching activity too. And the quiz that we're going to do on Menti in a few minutes takes questions from that quiz functionality in the toolbox. There are what we call dilemmas, which are short scenarios that pose different issues around a number of different themes related to GBV, and ask young people to explore those through a number of discussion questions and considerations. And there's no one right answer or one right output to those. It's to enable those discussions to happen in a number of different ways. And we will be looking at one of those dilemmas in a few minutes after the quiz as well. And then the final part, which is a little bit more involved, are the challenges, which are classroom-based activities that are designed for you as an educator to lead on with a group of young people to explore, again, some of the issues around this, and to have discussions and to consider strategies and solutions is maybe the wrong word, but approaches to tackling these issues where they may experience them online too. So those are all live on the website, and I'll show you those in a moment. What will also be coming very, very soon and uploaded to that same URL that you can see on the screen is a guidance document, or set of guidance documents for educators around how to use this toolbox in a positive and effective and indeed safe way. So as you can see by the bullet points there, it considers issues such as how you create the right learning environment and safe space to explore these issues with your learners, how you can talk about these issues, but also how you can talk from a preventative perspective in terms of trying to prevent these issues from occurring and affecting your learners in the first place, but also from a reactive perspective, what steps do you need to take if this does happen to you, or if you see it happening to someone else online. But also similarly, what can you do to affect some positive change online to deal with this and to manage these situations in the future. So it gives a number of different strands there, a number of opportunities to explore, as well as some brief guidance as well about the considerations around things like child protection and safeguarding and how that fits into the picture as well. So I'm going to give you a very quick demo of just how the toolbox works and the functionality so you're familiar with it, and then we will have a go at our quiz. So bear with me again, because a little bit more sharing screen to swap around on. And I've lost the slide. There it is. Right, here we go. So the URL that I showed in the slides, if you head to that, then you get to the main menABLE website and the toolbox page. And it provides very much a description of what I talked about, the dilemmas and the quizzes, which are at present available in Danish, Dutch, English, Greek, and French. And the graphic below, which I'm going to click on in a moment, takes you through to the interactive part of the toolbox where you can explore those dilemmas and quizzes. The challenges, because they're classroom based and they're more sort of activity focused, are a little bit tricky to put into an interactive format. So instead, we've taken the decision to put those into a number of PDF documents that you can download in order to then use and print out any materials that you might need to prepare before running that activity in your classroom. At present, it's only available in English, but more languages will be coming in line with the languages that I mentioned earlier. And I'll just give you a very quick preview of one of them. I'm just going to pick Challenge 5, which is called Moderator Team. And as you can see, just give it a moment, the PDF loads up. Let me just zoom out a little bit so you get a better view. Much like a typical lesson plan or activity plan, you can see it provides the name of the theme, the age group that this is recommended for, and all the materials in the menABLE toolbox are designed really with being used with age 13 to 18. It's not to say that these materials couldn't be used with younger learners, but you might need to adapt them in some way and have considerations around the messaging and the discussions that would come out of this. So as you can see, it provides an activity description. Just to summarize this one for you, basically you encourage young people to be moderators for online posts on different platforms. And there are 3 different examples provided in here. I'm just going to skip right down to the bottom so you can see them. And these are 3 different examples of things that have been posted on social media, mainly on TikTok, and yeah, in fact, all on TikTok actually. And then you as a young person, as part of a group, have to be the moderators of the comments that come after that person has posted it. And a number of those example comments are provided for each of those 3 pictures that you saw, those 3 posts. Each one contains the username and then contains the actual details of what they have posted in the comments. As you can see, some of those include emojis. I believe some of them may include other types of material. No, they're all largely emojis and comments. Some use slang, some used shortened words. They're all represented at the moment in English, obviously. But the young people have to make decisions based on which ones of these they would allow to stay up and which ones they would moderate and actually take down. And there are a number of rules that they have to sort of abide by, or community guidelines, much like there are on standard social media platforms already. So the guidelines for this activity are avoiding attacking others because they think differently, no hate, harassment, or derogatory comments based on protected characteristics, not writing posts or comments that encourage others to do anything that's illegal or harm themselves or harm others or put them in danger, being kind and spreading love, and refraining from making unwanted sexual comments or innuendo. And so it's up to the young people to look through all the comments related to the post and then make decisions about which ones they would or wouldn't take down. And of course, there's a number of interpretations. You've got comments in here, and apologies for this, but comments in here that use swear words or certain types of language that some young people may feel means that it needs to be taken down. There are other comments that may be represented with emojis where the presence of an emoji changes the meaning of the comment. Maybe it makes it something that may be innuendo, maybe it changes it from being a positive one to a negative one, or maybe it's a comment that you might read negatively, but actually the emoji changes that to kind of put it in a more positive light. So there's lots of things, and because there are usernames there as well, then that may factor into young people's decision making too. They may look at that and think, oh, okay, well that username is particularly offensive, or that might be quite a misogynistic username. Maybe I might take stronger action on that. And again, it's encouraging that discussion, getting them to think about the reasons why things do get taken down on social media that maybe break the community guidelines, or indeed in some cases break the law, but also to consider the reason why the vast majority of it often stays up. And why it may not be picked up immediately by pressing the report button and sending it through an AI moderation tool. Why sometimes human intervention and applying context and human understanding to these comments is really important to understand the message that a particular user was trying to convey, be it positive or negative. So that's a really interesting one to explore, and that activity takes about 45 minutes. And that's just one of 7 challenges that you can see that you can use with your learners. As you can see at the bottom, the teacher's guide will be coming very, very soon, and a link to that will then be present on the site. But let's dive in just for a couple of moments, just have a very quick tour of the interactive features of the toolbox. So if you press on this graphic, and you give it a moment, it will take you straight through. And as you can see, immediately you're presented with the different languages available. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to work in English. And if you press on your chosen language, you then have the opportunity to explore the different cards that are available for the different dilemmas. And you can see there are different pathways or different themes that you can choose for these dilemmas to present certain ones. So we've got sharing of content, gaming, debate culture, and stereotypes. I'm going to pick stereotypes because that's actually the shortest one with just 6 cards. You can put in a time limit anywhere from 10 minutes to 60 minutes, and then you hit start. And this is where young people can then take these dilemmas and discuss them in more detail. And as you can see, just a bit of an introduction here about the boundaries that might need to be discussed around these dilemmas, but also the fact that having a discussion about this can be quite divisive, which goes back to the importance of creating a safe space in your classroom or your learning space first. There are going to be disagreements, there are going to be different points of view. Setting ground rules for how young people are going to interact and discuss these very sensitive issues is really important, because these dilemmas in some cases are designed to bring out different points of view that may contradict each other or may come into conflict. So you hit start, and then it provides you with the first card, which is the dilemma. The dilemma provides a heading and sort of the subject of the dilemma, which is either well, it's a young person of a different age, maybe male, maybe female, maybe gender non-conforming or non-binary, and it provides a couple of lines, usually no more than about a paragraph, of an explanation from that young person's point of view about the particular scenario. Each one contains some kind of graphic or illustration to make it more interesting, and all of these have been generated using an AI generation tool, so no real young people are featured in these at all. And then underneath are a number of key work questions or discussion questions that we encourage young people to talk about based on that scenario. And we're going to have a go at one of these a little bit later on. When they're finished with that one, then they can move on to the next one, and the process repeats. So it's a nice thing that young people can do. You could print these off, for example, if you wanted to, and obviously share them in a group, but they can actually just sit around a device or a couple of devices, or indeed their own device, and actually work through these together as a small group. So we'll park dilemmas there for a moment because we're going to come back to those in a minute. We're going to try one. But I think it's high time now to have a little go at our quiz. So hopefully you still have the Menti open in your browser. If you don't, then the details are all still on the screen there with the code and the web address at the top and the QR code on the left-hand side. We'd love for as many of you as possible to take part in this quiz. All of these questions are drawn from the quiz questions that are available in the menABLE toolbox. So I'm going to move to the next slide and just give people a chance to join. So you should find on your browser, the Menti has now moved forward to allow you to choose a name, and you will be given a lovely icon to go with it as well, particularly like the cat there. We'll just give people a chance to play and sign up, and then I'll explain the rules before we start. And Chiara, if you're feeling brave and you feel you can remember the answers from all the quizzes, quiz questions, you can have a go as well. If I'm honest, I've forgotten most of them, I think. So it would still be a fair quiz. So we'll just give people a few more moments to join, and then we'll dive into our questions. I'm loving the emojis here as well. I think they're really good, really good ones that have been selected. Okay, so we've got 9 players ready to go. There may be 1 or 2 joining us in a moment. So just while people may be choosing their username for the quiz, I'll just explain the rules. You're going to be presented with 8 of the quiz questions taken from the menABLE toolbox. For each question, it will appear on screen when I press through on the slides to the next question. And when that appears, you have 15 seconds to choose from one of 4 possible answers. And there is only one correct answer. It is fastest finger first, so you get more points for choosing more quickly. So you have to be fairly decisive, and you only have 15 seconds to choose anyway. And then if I've set all of this up correctly in Menti, when we get to the end of the quiz, there will be a leaderboard to show the scores and show who the winner was. But of course, it's all just for fun. I'm afraid there's no prize other than the glory of being the most knowledgeable about gender-based violence and gender-based issues. Okay, so we've got 10 people ready to go, and I think we had around about 11 people for the other questions, so I think we are pretty much there. So question 1, get ready. Here it comes on the screen. I'll read it out for you as well. How many LGBT young people aged 15 to 17 reported experiencing offensive or threatening harassment in various settings? 35%, 42%, 58%, or 70%? Well done, correct. If you said 58%, you are correct. And 4 people got that one right. You got to be quite quick. I can see 8 people responded there, and I think we had 10 players. Well done. First question down. Moving on to question number 2. Just give people a chance to be ready. Looks like everyone's there. Fantastic. Off we go. Question 2. What is the most common reaction for European children aged 9 to 16 when they experience something uncomfortable online? Leave the platform it happened on, ignore it, talk with a parent or close friend, or report it? Congratulations. If you said ignore the situation, sadly, that is what many young people do, is that they choose to ignore the situation rather than tackle it in a positive way. Well done. Moving on to question 3. It looks like we're all ready to go. How many women, surveyed mainly in Europe, reported that their personal details have been posted online without their consent? 8%, 10%, 17%, or 25%? Oh, trickier one, that one. Well done if you said 17%. But not surprising necessarily that we thought that perhaps that would be higher, but it is in fact 17%. Well done. Moving on to question 4. Across cyberbullying studies, which of these was found to be the most common role for a young person? Being a victim, being a perpetrator, being a bystander, or all roles were roughly about the same? Well done. Sadly, linking back to one of our previous questions there is a common feature of being a bystander, not taking any action at all if you see it happening to someone else, be that bullying, be it gender-based violence, or other forms of harassment online. Moving on to question 5, we're over halfway. Off we go. How big of a percentage of European youth have witnessed someone editing someone else into a picture of a sexual nature? 15%, 25%, 35%, or 45%? It's in fact 45%. So well done if you got that one right. Quite an alarming statistic, I think you agree, but does show just one aspect of the nature of gender-based violence, which can include using technology to manipulate pictures and images and video to cause gender-based violence or sexual harassment to others. Moving on to question 6. How many European children between the ages of 9 and 16 have received messages, pictures, or videos of a sexual nature and found it upsetting? 18%, 28%, 38%, or 48%? And again, for this one, it's 38%. So it's kind of somewhere in the middle, but still of a high percentage. I'm sure you'll agree as well. Moving on to question 7. What percentage of European youth believe that people would think poorly of a girl if naked pictures of her were shared online? 48%, 58%, 68%, or 78%? And well done if you said 68%. And indeed, all those percentages very high in terms of the way that girls and females are perceived if their picture was actually shared online, whether or not it was up to them or not, or consensual or not. And then final question. We still got 9. Oh, yep, we've got all 10 players going. Well done. Final question. Here we go. In a study across 8 countries, what percentage of women reported experiencing online abuse or harassment that led to panic attacks, anxiety, or stress? 25%, 35%, 45%, or 55%? And the answer for this one, I'm afraid, is 55%. So it was indeed the highest one, and shows just how widespread this problem can be across different countries, across Europe, and indeed beyond as well. Right, let's see who our winner was. And our winner was Sassy. Congratulations, Sassy. You win the menABLE quiz. I'm afraid there is no prize to give you, but you have the glory of being the top scorer. A lovely picture of a fish as well, so possibly a whale. Congratulations, well done. Thank you everyone for playing and taking part. And as I mentioned, those questions were all taken from the quiz feature in the menABLE Toolbox, which will be available soon for you to be able to use on the website as well. So thank you very much for playing. Right, let's go back to our slides. Sorry for the multiple screen sharing. It's unfortunately Menti doesn't always play nicely with PowerPoint, so we're just playing it safe and switching backwards and forwards. So thanks so much for playing that. As we showed through the live demonstration on the menABLE Toolbox on the website, there are a number of different dilemmas. And in fact, they fall into 4 different kind of themes that explore things around gender identity and online violence and online communities and rabbit holes and gender-based roles as well, and roles in society around gender. For the interest of time, we're not going to actually have a go at one of these dilemmas, but I will just show you this one, which is one that just highlights how technology plays a key part in gender-based violence online. And this one's about Philip, aged 18. So technically an adult in pretty much every country, but you know, you still could consider a young person as well. And in this one, I won't read it all out. I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, Philip is very fond of and has a crush on a girl named Sophie. Sophie is not interested in Philip in any way. She's said that, made that clear to him. But he's finding it difficult to move on. He thinks about her often. And so he used technology, could have been AI, could have been Photoshop or another tool, to create manipulated nude photos of her. And he shared those fake nude photos with 2 friends on Discord, but hadn't shared it with anyone else. And after a few days, deleted them. And even though he's deleted them and he hasn't shared them further than those 2 friends, he's feeling really guilty about making them in the first place. He's not even sure why he really did it in the first place either. So then the young people have a number of questions to think about in terms of the motives behind this. Why did he create those? The consequences that could spill out of this, both for Philip and for Sophie, particularly as Philip has actually shared it with 2 friends on Discord. What might be the consequences further down the line for those? The putting themselves in Sophie's shoes. If Sophie found out about this, how would she feel about it? How could it affect her in terms of psychological and emotional well-being, in terms of her reputation online, in terms of other issues in other relationships, and what Philip needs to now do to move on from this situation, how he's feeling about Sophie? What are healthy strategies that he could employ to move forward with his life rather than being stuck in this situation where he could potentially put himself in tricky situations that may harm him and indeed her as well? And we haven't sort of explicitly mentioned it here, but one of the talking points, of course, could be around the law in your country around creating and distributing this type of content, and that differs from country to country, but also societal expectations, as you saw in one of the quiz questions about how people react when they see nude content and nude photos of women and girls shared online, how their opinion of that individual changes as well, and that could enter the discussion. So you can see the dilemmas, they range across different things. They range across different subjects in those dilemmas, be they boys or girls or gender non-conforming, and the nature of the different issues as well. So there's a lot to unpick and to explore. So one final question on the Menti for you. So hopefully you haven't closed it down after that quiz. I forgot to say that. But if you just head back to it, just one final question to think more broadly about how you would respond to gender-based violence issues when working with your learners. So here is the last question. I won't switch backwards and forwards because that's just one more switch too far, but it should now appear on your Menti. How would you respond to it in your country or indeed in your school? What would your approach be? Would it be a discussion-based approach? Are there particular educational resources or curricula that you would use to help meet these needs? Are there other strategies that you might take? How does this work for you? So there's no right answer in this one, but have a little think and pop your answer into the Menti, and I'll just read out a few of them as they come in before we move on. Thought we'd leave the hardest question for last on the Menti. Sorry about that. Okay, I think what we're going to do in the interest of time is that I am going to leave that question on the Menti, so that's available for you to have a little ponder just while we go through a few other things, because conscious that we need to allow enough time for Anita at the end to talk to you as a group as well. So do feel free to add into that, and the Menti is still going for you as you need it. But really important to talk about sources of help and support for you as educators and indeed as adults in society too, who you can turn to if you run into gender-based violence issues related to the young people that you work with or indeed run into yourself as an adult. So the first one is to highlight our Better Internet for Kids platform, where we have details of the InSafe network of safer internet centres. 30, I always get the number confused because it ebbs and flows. I think there's 30 centres at the moment across the European Union, and indeed there are centres that sit outside of the European Union, the United Kingdom being one, but also, as Cara knows very well, the SIC Plus programme of other safer internet centres elsewhere in other continents around the world. But for the European Union, you can find details of your safer internet centre. All safer internet centres have an awareness centre that has educational resources and promotional materials, particularly around things such as Safer Internet Day every February. But they also have a hotline for reporting CSAM, child sexual abuse material, illegal content involving children, and also a helpline. And those helplines differ from country to country. Some of those are directly for young people, some are for parents and carers, some are for educators and professionals, but you can find details of your national helpline if you need to reach out to them, or indeed put young people in touch with them as well. So it's a really useful source of support in your country, so please do use it. The second one that you may find interesting is primarily for adults, so those aged 18 or over at the moment, but there are plans to introduce this functionality for those under 18 as well, and it's called Stop NCII. Stop Non-Consensual Intimate Image Abuse. And this is run by the Revenge Porn Helpline, which are part of the UK Safer Internet Centre here in the UK. And a member of the Revenge Porn Helpline actually sits on our knowledge management working group for the menABLE project, which is made up of around 20 people from various stakeholders, including other NGOs and charities and the education sector and other academics and experts in this area, who meet regularly to advise us and to give their feedback on the menABLE project. But this site is a really useful one for adults at the moment. It allows you to create what are called hashes, which are a digital fingerprint. So what you can do is you can actually visit the site and you can share through your device, but not actually sharing to the site directly, your intimate images, your sexual photos or videos. And what it does is it creates a hash of it, a digital fingerprint. It doesn't upload the actual image to the site. No one can see that image. But what it does is it enables that image to receive a digital fingerprint, which is then represented as a number. So the image never leaves your device. That number is then added to a list, what we call a hash list, that lots of big platforms are using to automatically block the uploading of any image that matches one of those digital fingerprints. So, for example, if your intimate image got shared with someone else and they then tried to post it onto Facebook or upload it to OnlyFans or send it through Snap or post it on Pornhub, then they wouldn't be able to do so because all of those and a few other companies are involved have those hash lists and will automatically block any of those images that match one of those digital fingerprints. So it's a really effective way of preventing people from uploading your intimate images without your consent before it can happen. So it's a very proactive strategy for adults to be able to take control of this. If they're worried about it in any way, say, for example, they know they've shared intimate images with a partner and then they've split up, that relationship has finished, and that partner might be resentful or looking for revenge, then this is an effective way of cutting off that avenue where they may try to use those intimate images as a weapon against an individual. So it's a really effective strategy. As I mentioned, we are sort of exploring how to make that work for under 18s as well, but a really important one to be aware of in terms of curbing some of the gender-based violence that is image-based online. And then finally, the Report Harmful Content site. I'm showing you this because it's another UK service, but I'm showing you it because it has a really useful page on there that I haven't been able to find on any other platform and any other website or helpline anywhere in the world. But it's a nice, easy set of links to how to report content on all of the different social media and gaming platforms that you can see pictured on the screen here, be it from Facebook through to Pinterest, through to things such as Xbox, through to TikTok, through to Twitter, aka X, through to dating websites as well that may be available in your country. So it's a nice, quick and easy way of finding routes for reporting. And that is a useful strategy to share with young people as well, helping them discover quick and easy ways to report gender-based violence that may be affecting them or others online. So it's a really proactive strategy as well. So all of those are really useful strategies. And I'll post links to all of those websites in the chat in a moment. Very quickly, before we hand over to Anita in a moment, just to mention a couple of other resources that may find useful. One is, again, on the Better Internet for Kids portal. It's our Teacher Corner platform with free self-directed learning modules for you as an educator to bring you up to speed in all things related to online safety and digital citizenship. And I've just highlighted on the screen here a couple of modules, a number of modules that are useful in relation to gender-based violence online and the issues that sit within that. One of those is a core module, Key Online Safety Risks, which obviously explores this alongside other online safety risks. And this is one of 4 core modules that you can work through. And then on a roughly monthly basis, we're adding additional deep dive modules on specific topics sitting under online safety and digital citizenship. And you can see on the right here, cyberbullying, sexting, hate speech, sextortion and deepfakes are all issues that can occur as part of gender-based violence online. So you can increase your knowledge and understanding all of these areas by exploring those deep dive materials. And each deep dive contains lots of information, a self-directed activity, and links to other useful teaching resources and information at the end as well. So all very, very useful. And then also the other output that's really important to be aware of from the menABLE project will be coming later this year, starting on October 21st, and it will be our I've forgotten to change the title at the top there. Sorry, it's not the MLCE MOOC that's running at the moment. It is our menABLE MOOC, which is going to cover use of the toolbox, but also deepening an understanding of gender-based violence and the nature of it online and offline, and what you can do in terms of teaching and education to help support your learners in this very tricky area. It is completely free to join when the course starts in October and runs through to the end of November, but you can join any of the courses on European Schoolnet Academy for free by accessing the link and then signing up for an account and joining a course. And I'm going to hand back over to Chiara.
Yes, very, very quickly, because I know we are running out of time. So basically, thank you, Gareth, for like the overview of the toolbox. So the last point, the next activities for menABLE. Of course, if you want to be in touch with us, if you want, you can also leave your emails here. We will be in contact with you, but I will share a newsletter email for you, like if you want to reach out. So basically, the next activities for our menABLE project are awareness campaigns based on different topics of gender-based violence online, training and outreach activities, which is you are part of this activity as well. And then, as mentioned by Gareth, there is a MOOC for teachers coming up in October, but also a very important opportunity on the EU hackathon for young people and educators. So if you want to get informed with this, you can reach out to me and Gareth as well. And if you can go to the next slide, Gareth. Thank you. Here, our social media channels. So we are on Instagram and TikTok, our website, so www.menable.eu. And also, if you want to reach out, please reach out to us through our email, info.menable.eu. And then next slide. So the very final slide. So I'm sorry we have a lot of Mentimeters, but this one is really important. We really want to hear your opinion and feedback on this training. So here, like this Mentimeter will be open for 1 week, if I'm not wrong, Gareth. So you will have time to fill it in. You don't have to do it immediately, as long as you have like the code here and the website. But it will be very key for us if you can answer like those few questions and give us feedback on the training. And from our side should be everything should be there. And I think we can pass back to Anita for these last minutes. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you for joining the quiz as well.
Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, Chiara, for accepting the invitation for today's webinar. It was very interesting, and I think that you provided us with lots of interesting materials, how to deal with gender-based violence. Thank you for that. And of course, I'm going to disseminate today's presentation within my group. And I would like to remind that today's webinar was organized as an event within bringing e-safety into eTwinning projects group, and I would like to make a short presentation concerning my group and remind you about the featured groups that exist on the main eTwinning portal. And now I'm going to share my presentation with you. I hope that you can see my screen now. And please, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it, Anita.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start from the beginning. But I don't know why I can't scroll the slides. So I would like to concentrate today on featured groups. As I have already mentioned, featured groups are specific groups that exist on the main eTwinning portal, and they are focusing on specific themes such as English, environmental education, coding, STEM. And each featured group sets out activities and tasks for teachers to discuss and collaborate on. They are open for, I just want to remind that they are open for all teachers regardless of their teaching level. What is important is the fact that currently there are some active featured groups focusing. Currently there are about 15 groups existing on the main eTwinning portal. As for my group, this group is called Bringing eSafety into eTwinning project, as I have already mentioned. It was set up in 2005. Okay, I can see the presentation now because I have the problems with sharing the slides with you. So
we can see it, Anita.
Okay, thank you. As I have already mentioned, my group was established in 2015. There are over 8,000 members in the group now, and it is open for all eTwinners who want to develop their knowledge and skills in the scope of e-safety matters. And as the aims of the group, the main aims concentrate on exchanging information and experiences related to the theme of the group, participation in the meetings with experts, and one of such a meeting we had today. It was a webinar that was run by Gareth and Chiara. And I would like to encourage all the participants of the group and all the eTwinners to have a look at the information, at the announcement within the group, and take part in the events like that in the future. The group also concentrates on organizing live events that are organized with the participation of active group members. Sometimes we run events within which the participants share or present their eTwinning projects that were run on e-safety matters. And they also, for example, share their ideas on how to celebrate, for example, Safer Internet Day in didactic institutions during such live events. We also, I would also like to encourage you to become a member of the group if you haven't joined the group yet. Here you can see the link via which you can join the group, and after my presentation, I'm going to share this link via chat. And I would also like to mention that during the last year, the group content was migrated to the new platform. And during the time of migration, I gathered most of the materials on the special website that was created in Google Sites. And after the presentation, I'm also going to share the link to this website with you. And I would also like to show you the main page of the group. And on this main page, you can see the most important announcements and the most important events that are organized within the group. And for example, in autumn, there was carried out the group activity, which aim was to share numbers to free phone support services operating in different countries. I think that this could help both teachers and students to get immediate help in case of experiencing problems and difficulties, including those related to violence with the use of electronic media and the internet. And this activity, I will scroll down the view, and this activity, you can see this activity there. It's still open, and you can participate if this activity, if you want. Just have a look at the group content and join the activities that are still open for the participants. I also prepared a short guidance on how to implement e-safety into daily teaching practice. You can have a look at this presentation, and I hope that you will find some useful tips and advice included in this presentation. So I think it's definitely worth having a look at the group materials. Another material that I prepared is the presentation containing information about online portals on e-safety matters. You can find there lots of interesting lesson plans, as well as tips and advice for both teachers and students. And if you are already a member of the group, you can just go to the main page and browse through the materials that are here. And in February, we celebrated Safer Internet Day. It's our yearly campaign. Each year, I try to encourage the participants to take part in this campaign and exchange ideas on how to celebrate Safer Internet Day in didactic institutions. This year, we created Padlet via which the group participants exchange their ideas on how to celebrate this campaign in schools and other didactic institutions. So one more time, I would like to encourage all of you to join the group. I will share a link via which you can join to the group. I can see that somebody has just sent the link to the group. Okay, so it's very nice of you. Okay, so I think that from my side it's all. I just wanted to remind you about the existence of the group and remind you that you can browse through the materials that are here. You can also have a look at the pages that are included in the on the main website, and you can also find there a page called webinars from which you can browse through the webinars that were run within the group last years. And of course, I will promote and disseminate the recording from today's webinar. Thank you, Gareth, and thank you, Chiara, for being our experts today. The presentation was great, and I think that we all will use the materials that you prepared for us, and they will be helpful for all teachers. Thank you one more time.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you very much for giving this very useful overview of the group, of the materials. I would like, of course, to thank you very much, Gareth and Chiara, for sharing their knowledge today, their time, their competencies, and for giving to this very interesting project. I encourage all the attendees to explore the resources that Gareth and Chiara shared and to get familiar with the project. I would like also to thank again Anita for organizing this opportunity, which was really a great opportunity to make a journey into this project. And I would like to also thank all our attendees for staying with us until now. We share some last links in the chat, so give a look at that before leaving the meeting. And I wish you all a nice evening.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.